Today, we're checking out a brand new coffee grinder, the Olentia. It's from a Korean company called NadoNado, and it's packed with some really cool features, like a 63mm Conical Burr, adjustable RPM, and an overall premium design. Plus, the accessories that come with it are just top-notch. Let's start with the unboxing. I have to say the unboxing experience was fantastic. As soon as you open the box, there's a cover letter in Korean and a detailed instruction manual. Inside the outer box, the grinder is carefully packaged in its own secure box. The logo on the lid gives you a hint of what this grinder is all about. A 63mm Conical Burr single-dose espresso grinder. You're greeted with a full spread of accessories. The first thing I took out was the grinder itself. It's heavy, really solid. The entire body is metal, which gives it a sleek, compact look. It immediately feels sturdy and well built. Now, let's take a look at the accessories. First, we have a 51mm magnetic dosing ring. And here is a 58mm one. Then, we've got the bellows, which is something you see with a lot of single-dose grinders. There's also a branded dosing cup, and this one is really well made. Actually, there's more than one. One serves as a dosing cup, and the other as a catch cup, so you can swap them out. There are also two knockers that fit into the cups, and they can act as blind shakers. Plus, we've got a WDT tool included as well. There's a heavy anti-popcorn rod to help keep the beans in place while grinding. They also included an adapter for a 51mm portafilter. This wrench and holder are needed when you disassemble the Burr set. And finally, there's this beautiful wooden station that stores all the accessories neatly, giving you a nice organized workspace. It's not often that you see a grinder come with this many accessories, and each one feels premium and thoughtfully designed. Alright, let's talk about what makes the Olentia grinder stand out in terms of design. First off, this grinder comes with a 63mm Conical Burr. The Burr set is heavy and durable. With 8 cutting edges, it's super efficient at grinding. Each blade is perfectly cut and spaced evenly, so you're going to get a really uniform particle size. I had a chat with the brand. They have tested multiple Burr geometries and conducted extensive long-term testing before finalizing this design for optimal performance. The grind adjustment is stepless, which is fantastic because you can fine-tune your settings without any limitations. This is especially important when you're dialing in espresso and need those tiny tweaks. There's also a safety feature built in. If the adjustment ring is loosened too much, the grinder automatically stops to prevent any damage. The control button is right on the front, which makes everything super easy. Just hold it down to turn it on, and the white LED lights up. A quick press starts the grinding, and the light turns red. It's that simple. And then there's the motor. It's a 120-watt BLDC, and I have to say, it's quiet. I was honestly surprised by how silent it is, even while grinding. The retention is basically zero. I measured 18.1 grams of beans, and the ground coffee came out exactly the same. No loss at all. That's pretty impressive. And there's low static too. No coffee dust flying everywhere. I can skip the RDT method. On the side, there's a dial that lets you adjust the RPM from 900 to 1700, giving you plenty of flexibility. This makes a big difference in how your coffee extracts, especially with espresso. I'll show you how the different RPM settings affect both espresso and pour-over brews later in the video. Another cool feature is down at the base. If you flip the grinder over, there's a silicone mat that lifts up to store the power cord. It's a small touch, but it really keeps your setup looking neat and tidy. The dosing cup and catch cup are really well designed too, and in a bit I'll show you the workflow with this grinder. They've also included a wooden tamping station that's designed to fit a 58mm portafilter. But it also comes with adapters for 54 and 51mm portafilters, which is really convenient. Plus, you get dosing rings that work with all of them, making the workflow even smoother. Overall, I have to say, using this grinder is really satisfying. Now let's make some espresso with the Olentia and see how it performs along with the whole workflow. First, I'm setting the RPM at a middle ground, around 1,300 revolutions per minute. After a bit of testing, I found that a grind size around 5 works well for the beans I'm using. First, place the knocker into the dosing cup, measure out 18 grams of coffee beans, and then place the entire dosing cup on top of the grinder. With a quick lift of the knocker, the beans drop into the grinding chamber. Put the catch cup below the chute, put in the anti-popcorn rod, and with a single press of the button, the grinding begins. Watching the rod slowly drop as the beans get ground is actually pretty satisfying. The grinding process itself is super fast, taking about 10 seconds, and there's very little static. The grounds come out smooth and consistent. Once it's done, remove the rod, press the bellows a few times to minimize any retention, and we're good to go. Transferring the grounds into the basket is straightforward. Fit the cup over the basket, lift the knocker, give it a few taps and shakes, and the grounds fall nicely into the filter basket. At this point, use the WDT tool to break up any clumps and evenly distribute the grounds. Then I either tamp directly or use a distribution tool to level the surface before tamping. The whole puck prep workflow is really smooth. The resulting espresso is great. I'm getting a rich crema with a nice chocolate aroma and a syrupy body. There's a really pleasant caramel flavor that's well balanced, with very little acidity or bitterness, just a classic smooth espresso. Now, let's experiment with different RPM settings. I set the grinder to its two extremes, 1700 and 900 revolutions per minute, both using the same 18 grams dosage. I used the same WDT tool to stir the grounds 5 times and the same calibrated tamper for both. What really surprised me is how much the RPM actually impacts extraction. At 1700, the flow was really fast, extracting 38 grams of espresso in about 20 seconds. On the other hand, at 900, the flow was much slower, taking about 40 seconds for the same amount. It turns out that lower RPMs actually tend to produce more fines, which increase the resistance in the coffee puck, while higher RPMs produce fewer fines. This was the opposite of what I initially expected. I ran a sifter test with medium grinds, and it's clear that different RPMs change the particle distribution. The lower RPM shot was more balanced with a creamier, classic espresso profile, while the shot at higher RPM is smoother, with higher clarity and a bit more acidity. With this grinder, adjusting the RPM means you'll need to redial your recipe. Go finer when you increase the RPM and coarser when you lower it. For those who love experimenting with espresso, this feature really opens up a lot of options. Now let's take a look at how the Olentia performs with filter coffee. I set the grind size to around 19, And for the first test, I've got the RPM cranked up to 1700. I'm using 15 grams of light roasted beans, and the workflow is pretty much the same as with espresso. Once the grinding is done, I put the lid on the dosing cup and give it a shake to evenly mix the grounds. From what I can see, the medium grind consistency is really solid. After brewing that batch, I dial the RPM all the way down to 900 and run the same grind size again. I used the exact same pour-over recipe to brew this second cup. Now let's compare the two cups. In terms of aroma and body, there's not much difference between them. And when tasting, the difference isn't as pronounced as it was with the espresso shots. The cup brewed at the higher RPM has a slightly higher acidity and complexity, but only by a little. Both cups have a nice level of sweetness, with a hint of citrus and berry notes. It's worth mentioning that 900 revolutions per minute isn't exactly low. It seems like the Olentia might be more fine-tuned for espresso, but it still holds its own when it comes to filter coffee. Alright, now let's take a look inside the Olentia grinder and go over how to clean it. First, turn the adjustment dial counterclockwise until it can be fully removed. When you take it out, you can feel how solid it is. It's made entirely of metal and quite hefty. Next, remove the bearing. Now you can lift out the burr ring. This part is also pretty heavy and takes a bit of effort to pull out. Once you've got that out, you'll notice the internals are pretty simple. There are 3 scraper blades inside that sweep the grounds toward the exit chute. Now, place the scraper holder in to lock the scrapers in place. Use a wrench to turn the nut clockwise and loosen it. When you're removing the nut, be careful not to lose any small parts. Now you can take out the conical burr. Pay attention to the small metal pin in the middle. You definitely don't want to lose that. Finally, remove the scrapers at the bottom. These are all the removable parts. At this point, you can use a brush to clean everything thoroughly. When it's time to reassemble, make sure the groove on the scraper lines up with the small pin inside the central shaft. Lock the scraper holder in place, then insert the burr, aligning the small opening, and then insert the metal pin to secure it. Tighten the screw and lock the nut. Place the outer burr back into position, making sure it lines up with the grooves. Put the bearing back in, and finally, screw the adjustment dial clockwise until it's back in place. And there you have it, fully reassembled. Calibration is pretty straightforward too. Turn the grinder on and rotate the adjustment dial clockwise, tightening the grind setting until you hear the burrs making a slight ticking sound as they touch. I normally go a bit coarser to avoid the burr touching each other. Then, rotate the lower ring until the red letter C aligns with the button, and the grinder is fully calibrated. To wrap things up, the Olentia is a great option for conical burr lovers in a market dominated by flat burr grinders. Its smooth workflow and enjoyable user experience make it a pleasure to use, delivering solid performance for both espresso and filter coffee. Just a quick note, this unit is a prototype provided by NadoNado for testing, so the final production model may come with further improvements. Hope you enjoy this video. Thanks for watching.